Tonight, you will have the opportunity to address City Council on both non-agenda and agenda items. The agendas and the speaker request cards are located on the tables outside of council chambers. You must fill out a speaker card in order to address the City Council. Please hand in your completed card to the City Clerk before the start of the meeting. If the meeting has already begun, please hand it to any city staff. You may also check the "I do not wish to speak" option on the card. This allows you to still voice your opinion on an item on the record without having to speak. Public comment on a non-agenda item will take place during the citizen comment portion of the evening. These are items that don't appear on tonight's formal agenda. The City Clerk will call your name when it's time for you to speak. At that time, please approach the podium and state your name for the record. We ask that you speak clearly into the microphone. You'll have a maximum of 3 minutes, and there is a timer visible from the podium. When the light changes from green to yellow, your time is coming to an end. When the light turns red, your time is up. Note that you may also choose not to speak if other speakers before you have said what you wanted to say. Shouting, cheering, and loud noises will not be tolerated, and violators may be removed for disrupting the meeting. Goodyear City Council meetings stream live on Facebook and YouTube, and online at goodyearaz.gov. Thank you for your participation in tonight's meeting.
I'd like to call the regular meeting to order for December 13th, 2021. Please join Councilmember Campbell in the Pledge of Allegiance and Invocation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please bow with me as we pray. O Lord God, we come to you at this time of great shock and grief and ask that in your grace you would shed your peace and comfort to us and to our city as we mourn the passing of our beloved Mayor, Georgia Lord. We thank you, Lord, for her life and for her vision for us, for her mentorship, her kindness, her integrity, her service, and her beauty that she exhibited every day of her life. Oh, Lord, be with her family during this difficult time, and may cherished memories surround them with peace and love. Lighten our darkness, oh Lord, we pray. Comfort our sorrowing hearts. Pour your peace that surpasses all understanding into the hearts of all of us that are grieving, and shower the assurance of your love on all of us at this time of sadness. We ask, Lord, for a special blessing on this council as we deliberate on the agenda before us tonight. Help us to make wise decisions for our residents, being ever mindful of their needs, their wants, and the enormous progress and strides that our city is making every day, and appreciate the prosperity that we are experiencing. We pray, Lord, for our first responders and for our military wherever they are serving. Bless them and all of their families and uphold them with the right hand of your power. We ask these things in thy most holy name. Amen.
Amen. And before we begin tonight, I'd like to also take a moment of silence so that we can reflect on the passing of our Mayor Lord this past weekend. You can be seated. Thank you. All right, we have one communication item tonight. This item is the overview of the events and activities that have occurred over the last 12 months to celebrate the city's 75th anniversary. Arts and Culture Administrator Guyleen Olansky will present.
Thank you. Good evening, Council. This evening, we're going to be taking just a quick peek back at the celebration that we had this past year in celebration of our 75th anniversary. Just one second. We're supposed to have some snapshots that fall down as I click this, so if IT could help me out with that, that would be great. But I'm going to dig in just not to hold up our time too much. So this past year has been just an amazing celebration, and you know, as we look back, it's hard to believe it was nearly 2 years ago that we came before council in a work session to talk about how we would celebrate the 75th anniversary. During that work session, we really came up with 3 goals of what we wanted to accomplish. One of those being that we wanted to engage our residents, our local businesses, we wanted to engage our elected officials, as well as our Goodyear staff. And so as we look back on our 75th anniversary celebration, I really can say I think we hit all of those pieces of it. We also wanted to have some new events as well as infuse our Goodyear 75 into our existing events and activities throughout the year. And we decided at that work session we needed to have a year-long celebration. And so with this year-long celebration, we were able to, let's see if it'll work. I'll show you all the pictures later. So at this celebration, we were able to start out in January. And in January, we had this beautiful kickoff ceremony at Loma Linda Park. And along with this, we had a public art installation, which was a series of public art hearts, with each one representing one of the decades that Goodyear had been incorporated. And this public art installation has brought a lot of joy to many people as they've come and done our public art tour. And that we've had so many posts on social media where people with their families can go in front of the hearts, and they've visited all 10 of our hearts throughout the year. Along with our public art, we had a whole branding campaign, which included putting light pole banners up. We had decals on our whole entire Goodyear fleet with our 75th logo, as well as at our local businesses, there was window decals in their windows so that when you entered the business, you could see that Goodyear was celebrating 75 years. We were able to engage many of our Goodyear artists in multiple ways. We had a Goodyear history coloring book created. We have an original piece of artwork that's going to be included inside of our time capsule, as well as having our time capsule wrapped by artist Bonnie Lewis. And so along with these pieces, we were able to have some fun with our new events that we brought along, which was like Cinema 75 this past summer, which was a partnership with Harkins Theaters, and we were able to bring back movies. We had 3 theaters going with movies that were part of from 1946, which was that nice retro vibe of coming to the theater. I believe Councilmember Campbell was there to do some fun trivia with everybody and pass out some prizes that evening.
Yeah,
we also got to have a beautiful luncheon with our local West Valley cities and our partners and our local leaders, which was a wonderful time to celebrate with each other. And along with these new events, we also infused the 75 in our existing events. We had this wonderful glowing 75 that was lit at the 4th of July celebration when the grand finale happened, and that lit up 75 made its appearance at a few different events. Speaking of our new events, on November 19th, as all of you were there with us, we were able to celebrate in style at our new Civic Square Park, and it was a great time. We were able to have a 13-piece swing band, a Ferris wheel, stilt walkers, our classic car show, and it was just a great time to be had by all. And what was really impressed upon me that I really felt was this full circle moment was at our kickoff celebration, we were at Loma Linda Park, which was the very first park that Goodyear built. And our final night, we were able to be at the newest park that Goodyear built. And it really showed that we were really looking at not only our past, but really looking at our future. And so I hope that this past year for you has created as many memories as it has for me, and has created enough memories to last us until we reach our 100-year celebration in 2046. And so I do want to thank our committee that was from the city that worked very hard. Each one of our committee members really stepped up and were champions for their activity or event or program, which really made this year so successful. And so with that, Mayor and Council, that will conclude my presentation. But thank you and happy 75th anniversary.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And then Julie would like to present something to you as well, Guyleen.
Surprise. So Guyleen is always so kind and shares the credit with her amazing team. And you did have an amazing team. But it's not every day we find someone who has vision, but also the ability to execute that vision. And so the work that you've done for the Goodyear 75th anniversary deserves a special appreciation. So it's my honor to provide you with this recognition.
Thank
Anybody
you,
wanna say
everyone.
anything?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good, Bill.
First of all, before I forget, I want to formally put Guyleen in for a mug for adaptability, for being able to make a presentation without it going through. I'm serious. So whoever out there from staff needs to make sure Guyleen gets in for getting mugged.
She gets a mugging.
She gets a mug. But seriously, and I'm serious about that. But also I'm not the art person on council, but I was unsure of what was to come for the past year, and it has been kind of a fun experience to watch it unfold as the year went on. The hearts by far were my favorite thing, and I know we probably intended for them only to be just up for this year, but I really think the community rallied around it as well. So the entire team did a great job, and I just want to thank you for keeping that engagement going all year long.
Thank you.
Sherry? Yeah.
Thank you so much, and your whole team, and you do a great job leading that team and getting everything done. So I loved it. There were so many events from people of all ages, all communities. We all came together several times. And I know there's a lot of unknown as you're putting this all together, because are we going to be able to get together? Are we not going to be able to get together? What can we do? What can we not do? So I just thank everybody for making it all come together. And I agree with Bill. I love the hearts. Don't get rid of those. Those are so beautiful and so much fun. And then I loved how it just all kind of accumulated at the end. With the swing band, you had people out there, again, all ages, and it was just great. You know, kids loved the band. You had older people out there sitting there just watching it. And so it was a great time. So thank you.
Thank you.
And Joe?
You know, every time I go to one of your events, you always do yourself. I'm always amazed at how well that's done, especially on the 75th anniversary. That was great, and I appreciate the walk-up music for Goodyear Rocks too. That was fantastic as well. But no, everything you do is just fantastic, and I know you put your heart and soul in all of this. So again, thank you, and I'm really looking forward for more of those colors that we see on the boxes there for the electrical thing. So thank you for all you do.
Thank
Wally?
you.
Well, I was with the mayor at the celebration, the birthday, and she loved every minute of it. She thought it was so well done. She loved the capsule especially, and she loved the music, and she loved seeing everyone having such a good time. And we were so happy to have her there that night, and she was able to actually enjoy the whole festivities. So I want to thank you, and I know this is probably not the place to do it, but I have to tell you that I shared with the mayor this week earlier the beautiful Christmas tree that we have behind our rec center, and it is the most beautiful Christmas tree this city has ever had. and today in the rec center at our press conference for our mayor. The rec center is so gorgeous. It is decorated so beautifully, and I just want to thank everyone for putting on such a wonderful opportunity to show our best foot forward for this city. So whoever did anything, even if they hung one ornament, thank you all so much. And I know our mayor would love to have seen it, and she did love all of our celebration.
Laura?
Julie's right, you are visionary. And the creativity and innovation that you brought to this entire year has just been a joy. And I think all the great words have been said, definitely the impact on the community. It's just been great after having such a difficult couple of years, just seeing people coming together, engaging with the art, engaging with the speakers, and then ultimately the event to end all events was so much fun, the carnival. Everything done with the spirit of excellence. You have a great team. Brenna does a great job. All of your team is exceptional, and thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, same everybody said. I do appreciate everything that you've done and your team. But celebrating the whole celebrating throughout the whole year for our 75th anniversary, I think was excellent. I really enjoyed all the festivities and the culmination, like Sherry said, also of the final event in November with the Ferris wheel and the being able to share and to show off the new park. It was excellent. I really felt like the city has arrived as a city with being able to showcase that new area. So thank you for allowing us to show off to our residents and to people outside the city as well for our 75th anniversary. And I am looking forward to the 100-year. I think that's my target date, retirement date. So I'm looking forward to that as well. So yeah. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for the support.
All right. Now is the time for citizens who would like to address the City Council on any non-agenda item within the jurisdiction of the Goodyear City Council. Are there any speaker cards?
No, Vice Mayor.
All right. Does anybody in the audience wish to speak on a non-agenda item? Nope. All right, well, moving forward. Will the city clerk please read consent agenda items 2 through 11 by title only?
Number 2, approval of minutes. Number 3, reappoint members to boards, commissions, and committees. Number 4, recommend approval of an acquisition of control for a Series 7 beer and wine bar liquor license for Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue located at 845 North Litchfield Road, Goodyear, Arizona. Number 5, recommend approval of a new Series 12 restaurant liquor license for Tomo Japanese Cuisine located at 1550 North Dysart Road, Suites A7, A8, and A9, Goodyear, Arizona. Number 6, adopt resolution number 2021-2192, adopting the City of Goodyear Community and Neighborhood Services Master Plan Phase 1, Human Services, and providing for an effective date. Number 7, adopt resolution number 2021-2193, establishing the Arizona State Retirement System Supplemental Salary Deferral Plan, designating the city manager as the authorized agent, providing authorization and direction, and providing an effective date. Number 8, accept the dedication of a special warranty deed for a portion of West Elwood Street required for the Isola at Goodyear Ranch development. Number 9, adopt resolution number 2021-2196, authorizing the establishment of a public street for a section of Cotton Lane, providing recordation, conditions, and requirements, and providing for an effective date. Number 10, approve the final plat for Pebble Creek Phase 2, Unit 45, subject to stipulations. And number 11, approve the final plat for El Cedro Parcel 5, subject to stipulations.
Does anyone on the council wish to remove an item from the consent agenda? Can I have a motion and a second to approve consent agenda items 2 through 11?
So moved.
Second.
I have a first for Bill and a second for Joe. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All those opposed? No, it passes. All right. So there are 7 public hearings on the agenda tonight. And it looks like the first public hearing item is to consider a use permit for a drive-through restaurant, EMR Starbucks. I'm going to open the public hearing. Like Alex is here, please introduce yourself for the public. We will start. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Alex Listinsky, Senior Planner.
First presentation I have before you tonight is for a use permit located in Estrella. A use permit to allow a drive-through restaurant at the northwest corner of Estrella Parkway and Elliott Road. So on my next map, I've got a little bit bigger of a map. So we've got the Safeway anchored to the north of the subject property. Elliott Road and Estrella Parkway are kind of right at the corner. Walgreens is here to the east. McDonald's is just north of the pad site. And then on this, I've indicated where the traffic signals are at this intersection. So looking at the site plan, we zoom in a little bit closer. The drive-through is proposed on the west half of this triangular piece. So the drive-through would, do I have arrows yet? Okay, sorry about that. So drive-through users would enter, this is south-facing, and then queue up behind the building and then come out north-facing towards Safeway. The Starbucks is just a single pad. There's not additional pads attached to it. The current proposal has a shops building to the east. The developer does not have a user for that. They will not be building that building at this time. It's just shown as it was historically planned for in the past. So the queuing in the Safeway Center, the Mountain Ranch Marketplace, this is the call box. So there's about 8 cars that can queue up behind here. And then if there is overflow queuing, it would block these spaces that center is overparked, but that's beyond 8 spaces, which already exceeds the requirement in the design guidelines. So it's not blocking any business entries, potentially could block these parking spaces here, but in comparison to the rest of the site, staff found that to be appropriate. The design of the building matches the Mountain Ranch Marketplace Center. So on this north picture here, this is what would face Safeway. So it's the entry into the building. To the east, this is where the pickup window is. They've included screening here, so any shops with patios could be blocked from the pickup window. To the south, they've done an additional green screen that's facing the intersection. And then to the west is where their main patio is, so you can see the covered area. Oops. Staff does recommend approval. The application complies with the city requirements. Traffic study was approved by the city engineer. A neighborhood meeting was held at the Mountain Ranch Marketplace Center. It was actually held right outside of Safeway in one of the vacant shops. And we set up outside with the applicant, putting up some posters and available for questions. We did not have anyone stop by to talk to us about the application, but we were there. The public notifications included the Arizona Republic notification for the public hearings, postcards to property owners within 500 feet of the subject property, and then the signs posted for the public hearings. The Planning Commission did recommend approval 4-0 on December 1st. That concludes my presentation. The applicant is available for any questions, and as well as myself. Thank you.
Great. Yeah, I see Justin Grigonis with Upward Architects is the applicant. Would he like to speak?
I believe Brad from Kitchell's.
Oh, okay. It's Brad? Okay. Right here.
Hi, Brad Anderson with Kitchell Development Company, 1707 East Highland, Phoenix, Arizona. Just here representing the owner-developer and happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any questions? Yeah, we have to do that. Okay. Well, good. Are there any speaker cards?
No, Vice Mayor.
Anybody on this like to speak? No? All right. I'll close the public hearing. I have a motion and a second to approve a use permit for a convenience use restaurant with drive-through subject to stipulations.
So moved.
All right. So the motion is made by Loretano and the second by Bill. Open for council discussion. Molly?
Okay, would you go back to one more, please? Okay, the queuing part. Okay, so is this McDonald's right here?
Yes.
And when we go through their drive-through, is the drive-through gonna come out here and go out this way so that these can come in here? That's such a congested area, even now, and is the bus still dropping off the kids up by Safeway?
Thank you, Councilmember. The exit from McDonald's comes out this way. I'm not sure where the bus, if anyone,
All right, so
Can help me
this is
with
the
that.
exit for McDonald's here, and this is the entrance, so it's gonna be exiting right where they enter. So you're gonna
That's
have a
correct.
traffic jam of cars coming out and cars trying to go in.
I mean, it's possible that is where the entrance is and the exit to McDonald's.
Well, I'm afraid, I think we're creating a little jam in that shopping center, just like we have at the Dutch Brothers Shopping Center over on Pebble Creek Parkway and the McDonald's. It is a mess. And half the time, if you park as a patron, you get blocked in because of the lines going into either Dutch Brothers or whatever. So I'm really concerned about that. I don't know if it's that we're not planning it well enough, or we're just trying to use every inch of space in the shopping center for businesses.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I'm happy to address a few of those questions. We did have our traffic engineer do a comparison test to a Goodyear Dutch Brothers. United Civil Group had done a study to kind of determine the maximum queue that they had received. Dutch Brothers is a little bit different operation. They don't have indoor seating or outdoor seating. It's all drive-through. And they also don't have a mobile order app. They saw in the AM Max and in the PM Max, the maximum queue they saw was 14 cars. This has 253 feet, which I know showing up there it shows 8 cars, but it actually does fit 13. Plus you have another, between the order board and the pickup window, there's another 7 cars. So based on that information, it does not look like it would queue past the drive, past the main drive. But obviously if it did, what they saw in that Dutch Brothers study was that only happened in a maximum of 5 minutes during the day.
Which Dutch Brothers did they use? Because if they used the one up by us, Bill, up in that one, you can't use that one, because it's
I apologize. I don't know the answer to that. I do know that the other answer or response to your concern is that obviously as you're coming out the McDonald's, you have the choice to go right or left.
Right.
And then as you come down, if it is congested in any way, you still have another choice to go right or left. So you do have some opportunities there to circumvent the traffic if it does become an issue. But based on what the traffic engineer has reviewed, as well as exceeding the city criteria, we felt that it would not create any sort of jam. The city's requirement, I believe, is 150 feet, and we're providing 253 feet.
Yeah, I know sometimes I question our city requirements because some of our parking lots are awful. Just, they're not very conducive to people getting around. I'm just worried about cramming something else that's going to be high visibility and lots of cars in that shopping center at that end.
Mhm.
If it was at the other end, perhaps up by the pharmacy, whatever the pharmacy's called, in that open area, or the Banner clinic. But I'm just worried. I mean, we're the ones that get the complaints from people after it's built, so,
Understood.
thank you.
Joe?
Just curious, has McDonald's seen the drawing?
I have not sat down with McDonald's, no.
See, I think they need to talk to Mr. Miller.
They did not have any opposition, and they were notified of the request.
They are aware of what you're building there.
Yes.
Sherry?
Okay. I live up there, so I drive up there a lot. With the Starbucks going in there, would they be closing the Starbucks in the Safeway? Would that kiosk be closing, or would that still be open?
My understanding is that's going to stay open.
Okay, so there'd basically be two options up
Yes.
there. Okay, that might help also with the lines. One thing, if this does get to be busy, you might want to consider is making McDonald's a left out only to go that way. And realistically, a lot of times people can only go left because what happens is they park their orders where they're waiting for their orders there, 1 and 2, so you can't really make a right there because you take out somebody else because the way they have them kind of lined up there, and people don't really park that good in the spaces. So it really, a lot of times the traffic has to go left anyway. But I think there's enough queuing there in that area. I think obviously if there's a problem, would there be the ability to then change any of that with that parking there if we do find there is a problem later on?
What we've seen in other centers when we have had queuing issues during COVID, and the availability to come inside and sit was temporarily suspended, we were able to basically set up queuing lanes and try to divert that queue. As COVID has subsided and people are allowed back inside, that has kind of tend to have gone away.
And this one will actually have seating in there?
It does, plus it has an outdoor patio.
Okay, and Wi-Fi available for people and everything? Okay. Yeah, I don't see it as a problem there because it is kind of, there's nothing else over there. But just if there's a problem, if we do find there's a problem later with McDonald's, you might want to discuss how to make one left and one in. So you're kind of making a circle and you don't have people trying to go the same way.
We'd be happy to discuss because we
Keep an eye
certainly
out.
love to have the center function as best as possible.
Yeah, it looks like it's got enough cars, just kind of looks like there's 13 or 14 able to line up. So I think that should be okay, but just keep an eye. Thank you.
Bill?
Alex, this pad is already zoned. Correct, for what we would presume to be us building this size, right?
Correct.
So we're only seeing this tonight because of our unique special use permit process, which theoretically is going away. I'm looking at Christopher. So 6 months from now or a year from now, we're not even going to have this discussion. Wally, I absolutely agree. I regret the situation that was created by the adding of a small business within a parking lot within an already busy shopping center. We've done it a number of times, and I regret every time that it happens, but I think we've got a very limited scope in what we're talking about here tonight. So I appreciate the fact that the applicant is actually from Kitchell, who is developing the property, who has the responsibility to make sure that the flow is working there. We have the same situation down on Pebble Creek Parkway, and it is the Starbucks and the Popeyes.
Yeah.
And all through 2020 and most of this year, the amount of people that sit in line for a cup of coffee is astonishing to me. But they do it. So if they don't care, I don't know that we should put an undue burden on the property owner. So I'm very much in support of this, but I think we kind of have we have created what we have, so we need to finish out. And then you're right, Wally, I think we need to start looking at what are we doing on our shopping centers. The next time we get one brought to us, we need to really look at it and make some changes.
Laura?
I think this will be a welcome addition to Estrella. Certainly, I think it will get a lot of business, and I think Councilmember Campbell's concerns are legitimate. However, knowing that it meets our criteria, I don't think we really have any other option other than be prepared if you exceed the space that you've allotted and try to minimize the disruption as much as possible.
Yeah, I agree. I think the people up in Estrella Mountain Ranch are excited for this use up there. And with a lot of businesses in Goodyear, they get heavily utilized, and that's why we get the longer lines. So just being prepared to combat that or have options for people, left turns and things like that, because we want people to have a great experience while using your establishment as well. So But, yeah, so I appreciate you bringing it to us. I think it'll do well, so. All right. With that, can I have a motion and a second to approve a use permit for a convenience use? Wait, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? It passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome to Estrella.
Vice Mayor, before we move on, it may not have been put on the record, the actual attendance. So if you could please make a note for the record that all members are present.
Oh, thank you. All members are present. All right, the next public hearing item to consider is a major general plan amendment for Estrella Community 14. I'm going to open the public hearing. Welcome back, Alex.
Thank you. Alex Listinsky, Senior Planner. This next item is the general plan amendment, as you mentioned, for Estrella Community 14. The last major general plan amendments come to council once a year. Last year, we had the Wagner general plan amendment, which changed the area south of MC 85 to the east, on the east half of Goodyear. So this one, there's two general plan amendments before you tonight. Mine is for approximately 481 acres, which I'll break down for you here shortly. Just to kind of quickly overview the process, there's a 60-day review by other jurisdictions. We did not receive any feedback from the other jurisdictions. There's two public hearings held before the Planning Commission. One of them is off-site. We held that one at City Hall, and then the December 1st meeting was the second public hearing for this request, and then the final public hearing tonight before council. The location of this project is east of Estrella Parkway, which is here, this dark blue line. I've tried to highlight that for you. Just south of the Foothills Community Park and Estrella Foothills High School. So the approximate area is this area in red, which I'll show you a little bit cleaner drawings. To the west, you've got Montecito. Down here to the south, south of Willis Road is Cantamia. The Presidio Community Residence Club is right here in the center, and then Gulf Village is kind of this north half west of Estrella Parkway. The aerial photo in this light, it's not as easy to see, but you can see the area is currently undeveloped. As I mentioned, Montecito to the west, Cantamia to the south, and then Estrella Foothills to the north. So the current general plan land use map designates the majority of this area as business and commerce. The rest of Estrella is set as a neighborhoods, traditional neighborhoods category. This is the only major area that's designated for business and commerce. So under the general plan land use today, this is the list of land uses that could be permitted under the business and commerce category. So we've got all of the commercial, light industrial, multifamily, public facilities district, and then a planned area development zoning. Now today, the property is already zoned for a mix of commercial and high-density residential uses. So the property is zoned, was zoned in 1988. This is the drawing that we have on record. So I'm going to show you the next slide, which kind of cleans up this image, which was done by the applicant. So that's a little bit cleaner. So all this area in red is approximately the area that's being changed, proposed for change in the general plan amendment today. And then just as a quick reference point, this center block was designated for a regional mall site, and there's like I said, a range of commercial uses that are today allowed within this property. And then the reason for that regional mall we've looked into is that this was the former 303 location, and it's since decided it's not going there, so it makes more sense for the change of land use because there won't be a freeway running through this property that we know of at this time. So let's see. So there are, here we go. So what's proposed is changing 481 of the 521 acres. So this entire area is 521 acres. They're leaving 40 acres as a business and commerce land use designation, but changing the rest to the neighborhoods designation, which would allow for the traditional residential. It also does allow for neighborhood and general commercial land use designations, but that's in the general plan, it's at appropriate levels. So at major intersections within that area, not beyond a certain amount of acreage. So that area could still be zoned for commercial uses in the future, but at appropriate levels, and would go before council for any rezones in the future. So just a comparison side by side, 521 acres of business and commerce exists today. The proposal is to reduce that down to 40 acres of business and commerce and change the land use of 481 acres to neighborhoods to match the rest of Estrella. So like I mentioned, 60-day outside agency review, no feedback. Neighborhood meeting results, we had approximately 20 residents show up to the meeting at the Residents Club in Estrella. They were generally in favor of especially changing the regional mall site to not a regional mall site. We had one objection received by Mayor Lord. The concern was just about development in the area, but we have not heard from that resident again. At the first public hearing, there was no resident speaking in objection. At the second public hearing held on December 1st, there was one resident who had some general questions, mostly about what it's zoned for today and what types of commercial could go into that use. I referred him to the list of the business and commerce permitted uses, and we discussed what could be built there today should a rezone, or should no rezone take place. And the commission did recommend approval 4-0 on December 1st, and that concludes my presentation. The applicant is here and available for questions or presentation as well.
Great, thank you. Are there any speaker cards?
No, Vice Mayor.
Would anybody in the audience like to speak? Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing. Will the city clerk please read resolution number 2021-2197 by title only?
Adopt resolution number 2021-2197, approving a major amendment to the Goodyear 2025 general plan to amend the land use designation of approximately 481 acres generally located east of Estrella Parkway, north of the Willis Road intersection from business and commerce to neighborhoods, requiring amendment to figure 5.7 growth areas map and figure 8.12 land use and transportation plan of the Goodyear 2025 general plan, providing direction and providing for an effective date.
Can I have a motion and a second to approve resolution 2021-2197?
So moved.
All right, so motion by Laura and a second by Wally. Open for council discussion. Sherry?
Thank you very much. I do have a couple questions about this. Overall, I'm pretty much in favor of it, but I have a couple questions with, has anyone reached out to the high school? Because we have lots of traffic problems with that high school. I know we're putting a light up, but a lot of the students, they've opened up the back area to go around there. Do we know, has the applicant had any conversations with the high school?
Would ask the applicant if
the
they
applicant here?
have, they were on the notice list for the public hearing.
We might have to reach out to them.
Oberholzer?
Hi, good evening, Mr. Vice Mayor, council members. My name is Andrew Yancey. I'm an attorney with Bergen, Frank, Smalley, and Oberholzer. We represent Harvard Investment, who, as you may know, recently in a JV along with Toll Brothers has purchased the balance of the developable area of Estrella. Just, briefly, by way of introduction, we're certainly excited to be here for our first city council hearing with you. We're very sorry it's on such a somber occasion and that Mayor Lord cannot be here. Our condolences to the city as well as the council members and staff that worked with her so closely. Estrella, as Councilmember Loretano and I think the rest of you well know, is a magnificent community. We're looking forward to continuing and building upon success. We do have, just to let you know, members of the ownership team, Tim Brislin and Christian Pasalacqua from Harvard here, as well as Amy Weidman from Silver Fern. And we've also kept on some of the familiar faces that have been working on Estrella for years. You may recognize Pete Tyke here as well. In response, specifically to Councilmember Loretano's comment, there has not been specific outreach to the high school about this general plan amendment application. A couple things on that. First of all, the notice did go out. This is a general plan amendment. This is not a specific rezoning. Because of the way the major general plan amendment cycle works, we had to get this in this year to have the flexibility to rezone these properties next year. So that's why we're here at this time. When rezoning applications come up, that's when you'll start seeing things like traffic studies and those type of matters addressed. As a general matter, the single-family residential neighborhoods are considered to generate less traffic than the regional mall or business and commerce uses that would be under the general plan category right now.
No, I got you. I just wanted to be on your radar because it is a problem up there. And it's not necessarily, that you might have some very unhappy people that buy houses if that isn't addressed, just so you know. The other issue with the high school is you might want to, when you go to the next stage, is look at the lighting, because that is going to back up against the football fields, the soccer fields, and then our park isn't that far away, but the football and the soccer fields that light is going to be right over there. So that just might, like I said, I generally am for it. I think it's a better use of the property. But I just think those are things that need to be on your radar as you move forward, so.
Right. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. And as we continue planning this area, we'll keep that in mind.
Yeah, we want happy residents to move into there.
We do. We're in agreement there.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Bill?
I want to reiterate, I had a conversation, and I think we all did, with a reporter in the last few days about this quote-unquote regional mall site, and it's changed to this in a general plan amendment. The concept of a regional mall site was really just a fantasy pushed out 40 or 50 years into the future. There was a misconception, or at least the way it was portrayed, that we are losing a regional mall site. We never had a regional mall site. We had property zoned in a general plan for one, but we never had one. And I think that's a really important distinction for the public and for anybody who's listening to this to understand that this is simply a transaction of land use and what is happening in the general plan. We are excited about the partnership that we have with the new owners, and as we move forward in turning this entire area into something unique and special as we move forward in reality, as opposed to what we envisioned in fantasy 40 years ago. So thank you for the investment that you've made in the community, and we look forward to a long partnership with you going forward.
Thank you also as well. And I had a quick question for Alex, just want to put it in perspective. The 40 acres, what's the size of the Safeway parking lot? For the Safeway parcel, is that 40 acres as well, roughly?
Andrew has that answer for you.
Yes, thank you for the question. Just real quick, 40 acres is what we determined through a study from Elliott Pollock is the appropriate level of commercial. That shopping center you saw in the Starbucks case, that is the Mountain Ranch Marketplace. It's about 22 acres. So this 40-acre site would be about double that.
Okay, great. Yeah, because obviously a third of our growth right now is up in Estrella, and that's why you invested obviously in the potential of Estrella up there as well. So just want to make sure the new citizens that are up there will be served appropriately with enough commercial to meet all their needs as well. So thank you. I think that's it then. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? It passes. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
The next public hearing item to consider is a major general plan amendment for the city center. Open the public hearing. Looks like Katie's on her way. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you. Katie Wilkin, Planning Manager with the City of Goodyear. As you stated, this is a request for a major general plan amendment for the city center site. Oops. This is a city-initiated major general plan amendment. The location is the old city center site located at Yuma Road and Estrella Parkway. It includes about 180 acres. The northwest quadrant is the city-owned parcel, but it also includes the other 3 corners, which are privately owned. There have been plans for the city center dating back to the 1980s. This is just a snapshot of some of the plans. The one on the left is from the 1988 master plan, the first city center plan. Coincidentally, the city obtained the property in the 1980s. It was actually facilitated from a land swap. The city owned a piece of property at the southeast corner of Bullard Avenue and McDowell Road. So the original city center site was meant to be north of I-10, but to help facilitate the development of Interstate 10 and the traffic interchange there, the city facilitated a land swap with Suncor to help that development, and we ended up with the property at Estrella and Yuma. So it's just kind of coincidental that city center, the city hall has now moved closer to the original site that was planned years and years ago. I did also want to note one of the important parts of the city center planning. In 2004, there was a city center committee. You can see here, Sherry Loretano is very pregnant in the picture there, and Mayor Lord's in the photo there, both active parts of that committee. And from the work of that committee was the creation of the city center specific area plan, which created a vision for the city center area, all 4 quadrants. And I do just want to state that the work of that citizens committee and the specific area plan certainly didn't go to waste, even though the location of City Hall has been relocated. The city center specific area plan stated that the city center will provide a variety of venues that offer shopping, dining, cultural and civic events, recreation, city administration and commerce to Goodyear residents and visitors. And that vision and many of the design elements, such as including a library with the city hall, developing a park that would be a gathering space, mixed uses, the development of a Main Street look, many of those elements were documented in that specific area plan. And those same elements have been transferred over to the Civic Square site. So again, the work that those citizens did and all the community members who participated in that planning has absolutely informed the design of the Civic Square space. So the original plan for the city's property, which is highlighted in yellow, was that there would be City Hall, a library, a performing arts center, and then some other space for retail and office uses. Just north of that in the red is the 100-acre park that was originally planned to be the university park to potentially house 2 universities with a small park in the back. And as City Council knows, but as we've been stating to the public, with the moving of City Hall, we don't have any specific plans for that corner site yet for the future. The current zoning on the entire property, but this exhibit is focusing on the 3 privately held corners. So as I just stated, the uses that were planned for this city-owned property at the northeast corner was planned for focusing on hospitality, retail, and entertainment uses. The southeast corner was focused on business park uses, and the southwest corner was focused on residential and retail. I also included the building heights that are currently zoned. The inner core is allowed up to 150 feet in height, and then surrounding that is up to 78 feet. And then that area in the yellow, which is adjacent to the single-family residential neighborhood Estrella Vista, was limited to 48 feet. It is important to note this is just a general plan amendment. This will not change the zoning. This zoning, the city center zoning, is in effect until individual rezone cases are brought forward to you. The I'll get back to that. So the existing land use in the Goodyear general plan designates this site as city center. It's a specific use for city center, which basically says that development should be developed in conformance with the city center specific area plan. Since City Hall has been moved, this is why the city has generated this major general plan amendment, because there is interest in development of the 3 privately owned parcels. So the proposal is to designate the north parcels as business and commerce, which means those could be zoned to commercial uses. There could be some multifamily at higher densities in there as well. The south area would be designated as neighborhoods, which allows for a variety of different zoning for housing products. It includes multifamily, single family. And then this little clip at the bottom would be business and commerce. That is some of the parking lots for the ballpark and are part of the Ballpark Village PAD. I do just want to make a note, and the reason I have 2 graphics on here is we were having trouble with some of the mapping. So at the Planning and Zoning Commission meetings, we didn't show there is a transit-oriented development overlay over this area along Estrella Parkway. And really what that does is just encourage more density, more intensity, allows for the ability to build taller buildings in the area. And we just didn't show that and specifically call it out, but the intent that that would remain. The general plan has some of those in corridors where we foresee future transit to be most likely, so we'd want to see development that's appropriate along transit lines in those areas. We're also proposing adding a village center overlay, which really has basically the same goals, is creating areas that are destinations. Even though this may not be developed as a city center, doesn't mean it can't still be a destination area. And again, it encourages walkability, trails, and allows for more density and intensity as appropriate. I do also want to point out that similarly to how the city center specific area plan informed the plans for the new Civic Square, it also doesn't mean that the city has abandoned plans to create unique destinations and places for gathering in this general area. As City Council is well aware, we just had our recreation campus open with the Civic Square Park on the 100-acre site. So the development of that property and creating a really great gathering place and recreation opportunities is underway. We also have our ballpark facility, which is getting to those cultural and civic events and recreation. And the goal and vision for that area is still to make a destination area where there could be dining and entertainment and shopping opportunities. We did have a couple residents come to the neighborhood meeting and a couple residents who contacted us via email. Nobody was in opposition, but there was a little bit of a disappointment of, oh, I thought there was going to be this great place near my neighborhood. They were Estrella Vista residents, and they said, you know, I thought there was going to be this great place near me that I could walk to, and we tried to assure them that we still have that vision for the ballpark area, that there will be, restaurants were number 1 on their list, that there will be places to walk to and go to near their neighborhood. We do have a proposal in for single-family development at the southeast corner. I do want to say that this general plan amendment and the designation of neighborhoods at the southeast corner, it isn't consistent with the current zoning, city center zoning, but it is consistent with the single-family development proposal we have at the southeast corner. Fulton Homes has purchased the property. They have a rezoning request in. We anticipate that'll be before you in the next couple of months, and you can look at that in more detail. But as I said, the general plan amendment will be consistent with that rezoning. We do not have formal development plans submitted at the other two corners that are privately owned, but we have had pre-application meetings, so we anticipate that there would be proposals submitted on those probably sometime next year, and those would come to you sometime next year. And again, for any members of the public listening, those separate zoning proposals will go through a public hearing process, and we will go through neighborhood meetings when we have those specific development proposals in hand. We do anticipate a rezoning would be necessary on those other corners because they are specifically zoned for those city center uses. Similar to the last general plan amendment you heard, we went through the 60-day review where we sent it to a list of didn't receive any comments. We held a neighborhood meeting, and as I stated, 2 members of the public attended. We received a few emails. Mostly people wanted to know what the development plans were, so we explained we're at the general plan level right now, and there were no objections to the proposal. At the public hearing, we had 1 speaker who represented the property owner at the southeast corner, and they spoke in favor of the general plan amendment. And at the second public hearing, there was 1 speaker who represented the property owner of the southwest corner who spoke in favor of the proposal. Staff has found that this proposal meets the criteria for a major general plan amendment. The Planning and Zoning Commission recommends City Council approve it. And that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Katie. Are there any speaker cards?
No, Vice Mayor.
Would anybody in the audience like to speak? No? So I will close the public hearing. Will the city clerk please read resolution number 2021-2198 by title only?
Adopt resolution number 2021-2198, approving a major amendment to the Goodyear 2025 general plan to amend the land use designation of approximately 180 acres generally located at Estrella Parkway and Yuma Road from city center to 88 acres of business and commerce and 92 acres of neighborhoods and designated village center overlay, requiring amendment to figure 8.12 land use and transportation plan map in chapter 8 of the general plan of Goodyear 2025 general plan, providing direction and providing for an effective date.
Can I have a motion and a second to adopt resolution 2021-2198?
Second.
So a motion by Councilman Stipp and a second by Councilman Joe. Open for council discussion. Yeah. Wally?
Okay, so Katie, I'm sorry but I'm somewhat confused. So, and I've had some residents question this general plan amendment at a public meeting I was speaking at. Am I to understand this property we own as the city? Have we sold is this north? Is this, oops, all right. Okay, have we sold that property to Fulton Homes?
The city.
Or did they own it?
Thank you, Councilmember Campbell. Fulton Homes, so Sun MP used to own these 3 corners. Sun MP Investments is the one who went through the city center planning with the city in 2004 and beyond. And just this year, they've sold all 3 of these corners to private property developers.
What do we own?
We own the northwest corner right here.
Just that one little spot.
Yeah, that's the only corner we've ever owned. So the city has not sold any property on the city center site itself.
Okay.
The other 3 corners were always privately owned.
Okay, I did not understand that. And the reason why we're doing this general plan amendment is because it's where the city center was to go, and it was to be used, basically using our city center plans to develop it.
Yes.
And that's why we want to change the designation so that something else can be built there, and it's not a city center.
Thank you, Councilmember. That's exactly correct. And it's, the city center specific area plan and the zoning, it also had like minimum heights. It required very tall buildings to be built, which, given advice we've gotten from like Urban Land Institute and the retail market, it's, without us building the city hall there and also with the competition, it's just not viable to require those tall buildings. Again, we have seen some proposals where there could be hotels and retail opportunities in the area, but it's not going to be like 6-story tall buildings.
And why is it not going to be 6 stories? Is it something we've said they can't do?
No, it's not something, they could absolutely, the zoning requires taller buildings and they are allowed. So if somebody wants to come in and do taller buildings, they absolutely can. What we're hearing is the market isn't there for those kind of tall buildings, especially 2 miles away from the interstate.
But it's closer to the ballpark, right?
What's closer to the ballpark?
Is this going towards the ballpark?
The ballpark, you can kind of see, it's right here, it's just south of the site.
Yeah, right. So, yeah, okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you.
I just want to comment that this agenda item and the one before is just kind of an interesting case study of when you cast a vision a long, long time ago and then history catches up with you and it doesn't, it no longer fits. And I appreciate, the carryover of the vision cast before with the planning to our new one. And also I appreciate how you are intending to keep it into something will create a destination and help build up the retail and commercial around our ballpark. So I think you've got a great plan. Thank you.
Okay, that's it for discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? It passes. Thank you, Katie. The next public hearing item to consider is an Innovation Center borrow pit special use permit on property zone PAD. I'm going to open the public hearing. Christian's on his way. Please introduce yourself.
Good evening, Christian Williams, planner, City of Goodyear. I'm here before you this evening with a request from Wendy Riddell to hear a special use permit request on a property in the city. The property is approximately 55.4 acres and it is located at the southeast corner of Citrus Road and Roosevelt Street. That's approximately 1/4 of a mile south of Interstate 10. It's indicated right here with the star right there. The property is currently zoned planned area development within the larger Innovation Center zoning. The property is located, again, right here, southeast corner of Citrus Road and Roosevelt. Zooming in a little closer, you can see that the project is located on a portion of the larger Innovation Center property. Specifically, it is located in the southwestern corner of the larger vacant property. So again, that's the entire property, and the site we're talking about today is right here. As a whole, the property is north of the Roosevelt Irrigation District Canal and the Cotton Lane RV Park. It is south and west of the vacant Innovation Center, future development, and it is east of vacant land zone residential within Las Palmas, as well as some county residential over here on the west side of Citrus Road. For a little bit of history on the property, the larger 224-acre, largely vacant Innovation Center property used to contain the Phoenix Trotting Park, which was built in 1964 and opened in 1965. And it closed in 1966. You can see remnants of that property on this image here. And again, what we're talking about today will be right here. For reference, the larger 55.4 acres property, it contains a pit that we're discussing today. It was not a pit in 1969 and was largely vacant and part of that trotter track property. Sometime around 1976, the 55.4 acre property, again in red, was utilized by the Arizona Department of Transportation as a borrow pit in order to construct the Interstate 10 Papago Freeway as it made its way into the West Valley towards Phoenix. You can see in the image in the middle in 1986 that there's now a pit and the freeway is now visible on the north side as a 2-lane highway. 55.4 acre subject property that includes the pit, again, was largely used by ADOT when they constructed the freeway and is located right here. In 1996, the property and the areas east of the pit were zoned PAD within the Cotton Lane RV Mobile Home and Golf Resort, which you can see to the south. And in sometime in around the year 2017, the trotter track was demolished from the site and the eastern portion of that, the portion of that facility was deposited in the pit. You can see a little area here of the pit that was filled with that facility. And again, in 2020, the larger Innovation Center development was zoned for a mix of commercial and industrial uses. The applicant intends to develop an inert materials landfill at the southeast corner of this, again, in the Innovation Center pit. And a common question is, what is an inert materials landfill? That is a site that can deposit construction and demolition materials such as metals, bricks, masonry, concrete, asphalt, and materials that do not contaminate water or leach gases from it. An example of an inert materials landfill or pit can be seen in the picture on the left. The Innovation Center pit is approximately, again, 55.4 acres, makes up approximately 25% of the larger Innovation Center development. And initially, the developer will clean up the site by placing any materials in the pit that are in the borrow pit that shouldn't be in there. They'll remove them from the site. They'll properly compact and grind the materials that are in that site and compact it. And then the developer will go through the process of sorting and crushing existing materials, creating adequate compaction, and then finally accepting new materials into the site. The conceptual site plan and landscape plan are in the middle. That conveys the screening mechanisms that will be implemented in order to screen the activity from the public as the pit is being filled. And that is also documented in a stipulation in the zoning case or the special use permit case. Just for a record, there is an inert materials landfill located within the city that's about 2.5 miles east of here to the east, kind of behind the Walmart and Estrella Parkway. And many of those stipulations in this case you'll recognize from that case which you saw a few years ago. Staff has evaluated the impact of this special use permit on the greater community, and with no major concerns being found, staff recommends that you approve a special use permit for an inert materials landfill on approximately 55.4 acres property that is zoned planned area development located at the southeast corner of Citrus Road and Roosevelt Street, subject to the stipulations, and I'm happy to address any questions or concerns you might have.
Thank you, Christian. Are there any speaker cards?
I just have the card for the applicant.
Oh, great. Is the applicant here?
Yeah.
Great. So, please introduce yourself.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Elise DiMartino with Barry Riddell, located at 6750 East Camelback Road, Suite 100, Scottsdale, Arizona. Christian did a great job of presenting, and we are in agreement with staff recommendation with the stipulations as presented by staff. So I'm just here if you have any questions for me.
Thank you. We'll get to the questions here in a second. So, with no other, anybody else in the audience like to speak? I think I already brought that up. Then I'll close the public hearing. Can I have a motion and a second to approve the request for a special use permit for an inert material landfill on approximately 55.4 acre property zone planned area development located at the southeast corner of Citrus Road and Roosevelt Street, subject to stipulations?
Second. Oh.
Okay, so I had the motion from Councilman Stipp and the second from Councilwoman Keno. All right, open for council discussion. Bill?
Christian, this was part of the larger PAD that we approved a year or so ago. Did we require this borrow pit to be filled as part of that PAD?
The zoning required that a special use permit come in that would allow that process to occur.
Correct. So we can't even begin to fulfill the requirement that we imposed upon the landowner unless we approve this special use permit. Is that essentially what we're saying?
That is correct.
Yeah. So is there a timeline on how long this process can go? Because that borrow pit that you referenced that is 2.5 miles east of there has been that way for some time and is 5 years, kind of creating some issues for the neighborhood there.
So the special use permit will need to come back within 5 years for a re-up, if you will, but these operations can take some time.
Yeah. So, but in order for them to develop that area, it's got to be filled.
That's correct.
There you go. Okay, thank you so much.
Wally?
I've
got a question, Christian. Why, whenever ADOT is building these freeways, why are they not responsible to fill these pits that they make?
This is a common practice across the country. When you build freeways, you look for areas where you can reclaim land and take it to fill, to raise the land up.
Seems to me if you're going to mess up somebody's land, you need to fix it.
I paid for it.
Instead of putting the burden back on the
Yeah, there's no requirement to fill in the pit. Sometimes they'll use them as retention and incorporate it that way, but sometimes they will. The property owner gives a permission to take the land and use it to build
And
freeways.
this could take 50 years to fill or longer.
It could take some time, yes.
Okay, thanks. I don't understand some of this stuff.
All right, yeah. So, thank you, I appreciate it. It looks like stipulations too. It looks like there shouldn't be too much noise because it's all rolled during the middle of the day. So 9 to 5 for the first 60 days, and then 10 to 3 for after those first 60 days, only Monday through Friday, not even on the weekends. So, so yeah, and it sounds like very similar to the other one, the 5-year plan, compact studies all along the way as they're infilling it. And I think the timeline really depends on how much growth and how much construction material is produced in the area, which we have a lot of stuff happening. So maybe there will be, hopefully it'll go quicker, but it could take 50 years to your point as well. So, so yeah, so it'd be good to get it filled up for the whole community as well. And who knows, maybe we'll build something on it in the future too. So, something? Yeah.
I'm okay with it as long as it doesn't disturb at great length the Cotton RV Park. Because that is a very important entity for our city because our visitors, that's the only RV park we have. And they've been there many, many years. And I was a former RV owner and you can hear noise outside. So, I mean, I don't want us to do something to drive business away from that RV park.
Our hope is that these stipulations help to protect those residents with the noise and the
then someone will monitor that.
Yes, there's provisions in here about what happens when complaints are filed and things of that nature.
Okay, great. So, well, if we have any complaints from the park, then y'all can look into it because I'm sure that they'll come and tell us.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, so we'll go ahead and vote on this. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes. Thank you, Christian.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next public hearing item to consider is a use permit for a convenience use Raising Cane's restaurant with drive-through. Open the public hearing. Looks like Steve's on his way. Please introduce yourself.
Good evening, Mayor and Council, Vice Mayor and Council members. Steve Kretsch here, Principal Planner. Do have a use permit for you tonight to consider for Raising Cane's. The property right here, this Dysart Road, Interstate 10, Cornerstone, Rancho Santa Fe, Walmart, and Lowe's, so busy commercial corridor right here. This is the property. This is the former Mimi's Cafe restaurant. That's where Raising Cane's is attended. Right here to the north, we do have a credit union. To the south, a hotel. Both these adjacent users were notified of the proposed use here. I want to note that a lot of the improvements for the site, all complete. This is a existing center, so we have all the off-sites are improved. They'll be working here within this red area for the Raising Cane's. Access to the site, existing. We have a right-in, right-out into the Raising Cane's property, but we also have cross-access shared parking through this overall center. So patrons of Raising Cane's can take a short trip up here to Cornerstone where they have access to full turning movements here to traffic signal. So we can go back down to 10 if we need to, go north. So we have the full movements right here. And a little bit of history. This is part of Palm Valley Phase 1, 1989 and 2001. All of this center, including the Lowe's, the JCPenney, the Raising Cane's, future Raising Cane's, all zoned for general commercial use. Palm Valley Cornerstone's the name of this center, and we had that master site plan approved in 2004. So what we have before us tonight is that use permit for the Raising Cane's. Parcel's about 1.7 acres. Again, all of surrounding site improvements, off-sites and on-sites are complete. Proposal includes a 3,766 square foot building. This use will include indoor dining, a couple outdoor patios to go along with the drive-through component. And this is the proposed site plan. This is Dysart Road right here. Here's that right-in, right-out access that exists right now. Customers will come in from Dysart, or they can come in from the drive aisles from Cornerstone, come on down. What Raising Cane's is proposing is 3 lanes here into the drive-through. 2 will have ordering capabilities. 1 will be a bypass, as well as ability to use that during peak hours. So customers will enter the queue, wrap around, menu boards, pay, pick up, and then exit the site. Here we have with the bypass lane, if it is a peak time and there are a lot of customers in the queue, Raising Cane's does have the capability to use this lane. They'll have staff members stationed out here where they can pass orders to customers, and that would help alleviate pressure on the queue. Raising Cane's also does remote ordering. They have a couple spots right here reserved for that. And for the restaurant itself, this is the restaurant right here, indoor dining, and a couple patios right up here up front. This is the proposed building elevations. The center does have an approved materials color palette. They did incorporate all of those colors and materials into the building. For the use permit, we have a couple criteria we look at, and in doing so, we found that the property surrounding area, it's all intended for commercial use, so this use will fit in with that. Other similar uses. Traffic and queuing will all be internalized on-site. The traffic study did not identify any issues with either our public streets or anything internal that we need to be concerned with. And again, with this site, it's in a commercial corridor. We do not have any nearby residential. We also looked at the parcel side, adequate size. All parking will be accommodated on site, so they will be able to provide all the parking that they need. Hours of operation, again, no nearby residential, so staff is not recommending any stipulations on the hours. All off-site improvements are complete. And with this use permit, again, it's only the use permit that is before us tonight. We did not identify any other concerns. A citizen review notice did go out. We did notify all the surrounding property owners, posted the property, all the advertisements that's required for a public hearing. Since the writing of the staff report in this presentation, we did receive one inquiry from a resident, and it appeared their concern was traffic with introducing a very popular use to this commercial corridor. So that was their concern, additional traffic to this area. But otherwise, staff has not received any other opposition. Planning and Zoning Commission, there was no opposition voiced to this item. So we find that it does meet our evaluation criteria. Staff and the Planning Commission, we are recommending approval subject to the 6 stipulations in the staff report. Vice Mayor, that concludes my presentation. The applicant is here and is available for any questions as well.
Great, thank you. Are there any speaker cards?
No, Vice Mayor.
Would anybody in the audience like to speak? No? Okay, well, I'm going to close the public hearing then. Can I have a motion and a second to approve the request for a use permit for a convenience use restaurant with drive-through on a 1.68 acre parcel in the Palm Valley Cornerstone Commercial Center, generally located at the northwest corner of Dysart Road and I-10 within the Palm Valley Phase 1 planned area development, subject to stipulations?
Second.
All right, so I had Councilwoman Campbell and Councilmember Pizzello. The second. Open for council discussion. Joe?
Just want to welcome you to the community. I know I've eaten at your restaurant. It usually stays pretty busy, so you're probably going to need those queuing areas at that location, at least what I've seen before, the way your business operates. So again, welcome to the community.
Thank you.
Molly?
Yeah, I just want to say welcome. We've been waiting, well, I say 10, 15 years for Canes to come because we keep going up to Avondale at 99th and McDowell. And during COVID, I guess the first year I was trying to remember, my husband and I went to Canes 4 times that I know of, and I was never less than number 39 in line to go through the drive-through, and I never lasted 39 cars, but it was amazing because you have such a wonderful product and it's fresh, and the folks that you hire are very welcoming and fun, and it's a very nice place to go. So thank you, and we're just delighted that you're here in Goodyear, and that's a great location for you on Dysart. It's right there by In-N-Out Burger. It's right there by Walmart. And I think you'll be very, very successful there. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, welcome as well. To Councilman Campbell's point, yeah, the Avondale one is always packed. It's hard to get out of that parking lot because the traffic is so backed up in that line. So I appreciate the extra attention to the drive-through lines as well, because no one really wants to go to Avondale. So I appreciate it. So thank you. All right. So I think that's it then. So all those in favor? Aye. All those any opposed? No? All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, the next public hearing item to consider is a text amendment to Article 7, sign regulations of the zoning ordinance menu boards. Open the public hearing. Welcome back, Steve.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Steve Correggio, Principal Planner. Appropriate text amendment following a fast food restaurant. This text amendment is to address menu boards for drive-through restaurants. And for the City of Goodyear, Article 7 of the zoning ordinance, that regulates all signage within the city. Last update was in 2015, approved 2017 for the Supreme Court case. Another very important amendment was just last year, we approved electronic message displays to be placed on monument signs within commercial and industrial zones. Background, what we were finding, drive-through restaurants, they were requesting larger menu boards, which seemed appropriate given the importance to customers, especially during COVID, the drive-through restaurants, we did see a lot of use for those restaurants. Also being requested is to allow electronic message displays on those menu boards. Given the requests that we've seen, staff did make a decision to look at our regulations to see if there were any areas of improvement or anything we needed to do to reflect what's happening in the development community. And again, what we're looking at tonight, these are a couple example menu boards. This is what staff was finding. The users were looking for larger menu boards along with adding the electronic displays. And so what staff is proposing before you tonight is a text amendment that will increase the size from what we allow now, 25 square feet to 50 square feet. We'd also like to allow the provision of the electronic message displays, which would follow generally what we allowed on the monument signs within the commercial industrial in terms of size to 24 square feet, as well as the standards to protect passerbys or residential areas. So that's why you see the static images, the 8-second requirement, the 300 nits, as well as shutting off if they're within a nearby single-family zone. Screening from the street, that is something also that we added to the text amendment. We would like to screen the menu boards just with a little landscaping, some walls, especially if they're going larger and we are allowing electronic message displays. That seemed appropriate. We will ask all lighting and noise to be directed away from residential areas. We also just clarified that with these signs, we would like the sign base and landscaping more of an aesthetic to make sure these signs have a nice appearance. And for why we proposed some of the size that we did look at 8 other cities within the valley. And we found, at least for the size of the menu boards, we were on the lower end. Average was about 40 square feet, and we were at 25. So there did appear to be room to allow a larger sign. 2 of the 8 cities permitted electronic message displays, so we were consistent with not allowing electronic message displays, but given that the city seemed comfortable with allowing the displays on monument sites within commercial and industrial zones, given that this was probably something that was going to become more and more popular with the drive-through restaurant users, we thought it was appropriate to meet that future need and just to propose that now before the council. For this text amendment, we did do a display ad in the newspaper. We had it on the website. We also emailed it to about 500 stakeholders who had signed up for notices such as this. And we have not received any opposition to date, which we were hoping we would not, given that this is larger signs allowing more capabilities for these users to reach their customers. So we're hoping it would be received positively. And that's our assumption at this time, because we've had no opposition voiced to what we're proposing tonight. So to sum up, we found that this text amendment meets our evaluation criteria that we need to meet for any text amendments to the zoning code. Staff and the Planning and Zoning Commission, we are recommending approval of this amendment. With that, Vice Mayor, that concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Are there any speaker cards?
No, Vice Mayor.
Anybody in the audience tonight to speak? No? All right. Well, with that, I'll close the public hearing. Will the city clerk please read ordinance number 2021-1520 by title only?
Adopt ordinance number 2021-1520, amending Article 7-8, permitted signage by zoning district of the City of Goodyear zoning ordinance as amended, and providing for corrections, severability, and effective date and penalties.
Great. Can I have a motion and a second to adopt ordinance 2021-1520?
So moved.
All right, so a motion by Councilman Basilio, a second by Councilman Stipp. Open for council discussion. Anybody? I had a question. I probably looked this up somewhere. What's the difference between a nit, unit of measurement, and like a lumen, brightness-wise? 300 nits from dusk till dawn. I'm just curious how bright it is. I don't know. I don't have no frame of reference on what a nit is.
Mayor, council members, Vice Mayor, council members, I probably could not give you a technical definition of the nit. What I can say is, in reviewing the literature and what the other cities within the valley, the nit was a very common measurement of the light coming off of the sign face. 300 nits was common for urban, suburban type areas. That was a generally accepted level of light. If we were more rural or dark sky, they would recommend lower. But for these kind of applications, that was an appropriate level. Nit is something that we found, besides the foot candle and other measures, the nit was used for these types of displays. And again, we were following the other cities within the valley, so that's why we chose this unit.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I didn't know the needed technical. I was just curious about the comparisons as well. So thank you. Christopher?
Thank you, Vice Mayor, Council. I have an hour-long presentation on nits.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right. Jared, come on, Jared. So a nit is just a unit of brightness, a measure of brightness. On indoor displays, there are about 1,500 nits. Outdoor displays, about 5,000 nits. So it gives you a little bit of context about how bright are the allowances that's being proposed in the ordinance.
Thank you. And then I saw that, so the ordinances are for 10 till 10 p.m. What happens if you have a business that's after 10 p.m. and you have this kind of display? Vice Mayor or council members, if you were within 150 feet, then you would need to shut off that display. Okay.
150 feet of a house?
Yes, ma'am. Okay. Which I assume majority are not, but okay. I was just curious. If I want to do business in Goodyear and I'm near a residence, then I make sure I'm not open past 10 p.m. if I have an electric sign or some version of a non-electric sign. Okay. Okay. I think I'm good then. I think I'm the only one that had comments, so thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Nope, it passes. Thank you. All right, the final public hearing item to consider is amendments to Chapter 15 of the Goodyear City Code. I'm going to open the public hearing. Planning Manager Katie, welcome back. We'll present.
Thank you. Thank you. This item is a follow-up to a work session we held with council on July 1st, 2021. At that meeting, we've been really busy.
Why, really?
Yes. At that meeting, we discussed the preliminary plat process with City Council. Council gave staff the direction that you wish the preliminary plat process to remain the same, that preliminary plats will be reviewed by staff, they go to Planning and Zoning Commission, and then City Council for approval. This item does not change that. However, there were a few items we did discuss with you that you gave us authorization to continue explore and bring back to you. So this ordinance has 3 proposed changes to the preliminary plat and final plat process. The first is that it would give staff the ability to waive a preliminary plat under certain circumstances if it has 10 or fewer lots. State law gives this option. The Goodyear City Code has just never had it. And those would be instances, mostly commercial and industrial properties. They usually do a site plan anyway. The site plan does the same type of engineering reports as a preliminary plat. So the site plan and preliminary plat become redundant. Oftentimes too, this may be happening even after the project is already developed or in development, so there's not really design items associated with these types of preliminary plats. It's simply subdividing the lots and doing the required engineering, which is done during site plan. So in those types of cases, it would give staff the authority to waive a preliminary plat. It would go straight to final plat. That final plat still comes to council for review and approval. The second item would be to allow 1 administrative extension for preliminary plats. Right now, any extension goes to council for approval. This would give the staff ability to approve one of those. And then if they wanted an additional one after that, that would go to council. This would be helpful. As we all know, development has gotten very, very busy. Many times these preliminary plats, our customers are working diligently on moving forward with development, but they are working on, say, the Clomer-Lomer process. They're trying to get approval through RID, and they're held up on delays by these outside agencies, even though they are diligently working on the project. So this would allow staff in those cases, when there's been no changes to our regulations that would affect these plats, to keep these projects moving forward. The third item is similar to that. It would allow staff to grant 1 administrative extension for final plat approval. Those are only 90-day approvals right now. And again, there's often signatures needed from Liberty Utilities. Sometimes we run into a problem where a recordation gets rejected by the county recorder, and then we have to go get new signatures. Sometimes the property owners are out of state. So allowing staff to allow 1 administrative extension, again, a second extension would have to be approved by council, would allow us to keep these projects moving forward when the customer is moving forward diligently. And again, often it's no fault of their own. It's coordinating all these different processes that they often need an extension. So this ordinance would do those 3 things if approved. And that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Are there any speaker cards?
No, Vice Mayor.
Would anybody in the audience like to speak? No? I'm going to close the public hearing. Will the city clerk please read resolution number 2021-2190 by title only?
Adopt resolution number 2021-2190, declaring as a public record that certain document titled Amendments to Chapter 15 Subdivision Regulations of the Goodyear City Code.
I have a motion and a second to adopt resolution 2021-2190.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilwoman Campbell and a second by Councilmember Pizzillo. Open for council discussion. Joe?
What was the extension on the preliminary?
The preliminary plat is a one-year extension, so we have it, so staff could do a one-year extension, and then city council could do a one-year extension. And again, that is similar to the site planning process too, which allows a one-year extension.
And the final would be
90 days.
90 days. I'm just curious, how many times would you need a whole year extension on some of these plans?
I'm not sure I could say off the top of my head. I know we have had a couple situations where people have run into situations with external agencies that we've had to work around. It doesn't happen that often that they need an entire year. And
Mr. Grace in his Roosevelt Irrigation District, I think that was one.
that's an example, yes.
A good example.
Yeah, I don't mind the extension. I just want to make sure that the applicants wouldn't use it as an excuse to just get another year. So, and I assume that you guys would watch to make sure that's not the case.
Thank you, absolutely. Some things I should mention, I mean, there's still criteria. If say the engineering development codes changed and they would need to change their preliminary plat, we wouldn't grant an extension. They would need to update to come into conformance with any code changes. If we just never heard from somebody, they got approval, and then 2 years later they show up, we wouldn't necessarily grant it. It would because there's a reason. They're working with RID, they're working with somebody diligently. They just got caught up in other processes.
Yeah, I just trust staff would make sure that they wouldn't use it as just a way to work around a process, that's all.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No, it passes. Will the clerk please read ordinance number 2021-1521 by title only?
Adopt ordinance number 2021-1521, amending sections 15-1-2 definitions, 15-2-3 Stage 2 preliminary plat, and 15-2-5 Stage 3 final plat of the Goodyear City Code, providing for corrections, severability, and an effective date.
All right, can I have a motion and a second to adopt ordinance 2021-1521?
So moved.
All right, so I had a motion by Councilwoman Keno and a second by Councilmember Stipp. Open for council discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Nope, passes. Thank you. All right, so now we're moving on to information items. Does the council have any comments, commendations, or reports on current events or requests for future items?
Good.
Do you? Bill?
I guess this is technically a request, but I request that everybody have a great holiday season and a happy, safe new year. I request that. Please make sure that Guyleen gets her mug, because I'm looking at Nathan. But no, seriously, at least from my behalf, I tend to make these meetings difficult. I do want to send my appreciation to everybody for another great year, and I look forward to a great 2022.
I'll just echo that. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Yeah, Merry
And
Christmas.
thank you.
Happy Hanukkah, Laura?
Well, I just want to say it's been less than a week that we had noticed that things were going to change so significantly here, and it's kind of bittersweet. It's in the holidays, but we'll continue to thrive. I look forward to starting 2022, knowing that Georgia's left us a great legacy. And I just want to thank everybody in the city for all the work that you do to keep us going so well. Thank you.
Joe?
No, I was just going to say the parade was quite interesting. I had, had yeah, yeah, overheated, came smoky. I told my granddaughter we were stealth mode because you couldn't see us through the smoke. So it was an interesting time, but we still got a lot of candy to the kids. And like I explained to her, sometimes stuff just happens. You know what I mean? So, but no, it was a good time. It really was. So, and everybody have a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Hanukkah, and everything. It's been a great, and again, when we're out there, when it comes to staff, everybody always says, especially in the events, boy, you guys do a great job. I said, don't look at us. Look at the people out there in the audience. You're the ones that do the delivering of the product. So thank you for all you do.
I'm sure there'll be another report, but Shop with the Cop on Saturday was very successful, and the children were just precious. And we really thank council for coming out and supporting that, and we thank the officers for taking time to go with the kids, and they had a wonderful time at Target. So, and it was really very special.
Perfect. Thank you.
Oh, and Merry Christmas, everyone.
Yeah. Yeah, I went to the parade as well with my children, and they had a great time. We keep running out of candy within the first 5 people, I think. But so I need to get more candy. They might be eating it all. I don't know. But yeah, once again, thank you to staff for a great year and for all the support that you provide. So have a happy holiday season. Looking forward to seeing you guys all next year as well. So does the city manager have anything to report?
I do, just briefly, Vice Mayor, Council, Shop with a Cop overview. So our 21st annual Shop with a Cop took place last Saturday, December 11th. We had a total of 20 children ranging from 5 to 13 who participated, and they had breakfast with an officer, visited Santa, and went shopping at Target via a police caravan. The gift cards for each child were provided with generous donations from the Pebble Creek Home Tour Group. And the event sponsors included the Pebble Creek Home Tour Group, CTCA, Chick-fil-A, Hampton Inn, En Route Coffee and Tea House, and Target. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Yep. All right, so the next meeting will be a work session followed by a regular meeting on January 10th, 2022. So we'll see you all there. There will be no further business to discuss. This meeting is adjourned.